They said it like a favor. Everyone's going to love this, my cousin Lila had told me over FaceTime. Her voice bright, already somewhere ahead of the rest of us. A family cruise. No stress. Everything handled. Everyone. I remember that word because I repeated it back to her, slower, like I was saving it for later. Everyone. She nodded. All of us. You, me, Mom, the aunts, the kids. It'll be easy for once. Easy is a dangerous word in my family. It usually means someone else is doing the work, and I just haven't been informed yet. Still, I wanted to believe her. At 37, I was tired of being the one who double-checked reservations, who packed extra chargers, who brought snacks for other people's kids. I had 2 kids of my own, Evan, 9, who asked thoughtful questions at inconvenient times, and Rosie, 6, who moved through the world like it was an open invitation. Their dad and I co-parented well enough, and this trip fell on my week. I asked twice if that was okay. Of course, Lila said. It's a family thing. So I said yes. The morning we arrived at the port, the air smelled like sunscreen and fuel. The kind of smell that feels expensive if you don't think too hard about it. Evan tugged at my sleeve, pointing to the ship towering over us, all white curves and glass. Rosie bounced in place, her backpack thumping against her spine. Is there really a kids' pool? She asked. That's what they said, I told her. Around us, families clustered together, wrists flashing with plastic bands, voices rising in excited fragments. Luggage rolled over concrete. A horn sounded low and deep, like a reminder that time was moving whether you were ready or not. I scanned the crowd for my family and found them near the terminal doors. Lila stood at the center, sunglasses on, linen dress already catching the breeze. My aunt hugged her from behind, laughing. My mother adjusted her scarf like this was a photo op. They all had wristbands. We didn't. I told myself it was nothing, a clerical thing, a moment that would resolve itself if I didn't panic. Lila saw us and lifted a hand in a quick wave, 2 fingers actually, the gesture she used when she was half busy, half important. There you are, she said when we reached them. Her smile landed somewhere near my face, but didn't quite stick. Evan looked down at his wrist, then at hers. Do we get those here? Lila blinked just once. Oh, that was it. Just oh. My stomach tightened, the way it does when I realize I'm about to be told something I should have already known. I lowered my voice. You said the cruise was planned for everyone. Yes, she said quickly. It is. Rosie tugged my hand. Mommy, can I go on the big slide first? Hold on, baby, I said without looking at her. Lila reached into her bag and pulled out her phone, tapping fast. So here's the thing. There was a little mix-up with the cabins. A mix-up how? I asked. She made a face that tried to be apologetic and failed. Well, the block we booked ended up being adults only. I waited for the rest of the sentence. It didn't come. You booked an adults-only block, I said. For the first few nights, she added like that softened it. It's the serenity level. It was an upgrade. Evan went quiet. Rosie leaned into my leg. You knew I was bringing my kids, I said. Lila laughed lightly. Of course. But when the option came up, it just made sense. And kids have clubs, right? They'll be fine. I stared at her. You told me this was for everyone. She shrugged, adjusting her sunglasses. Oops, she said, her mouth twisting like the word was cute. We forgot you had the kids with you this week. There it was. Not an apology, not even surprise, just a casual oversight, like leaving milk off a grocery list. My mother stepped in then, touching my arm. Let's not make a scene before we even board. I pulled my arm back gently. I'm not making a scene. I'm trying to understand. Lila sighed. You always do this. You overthink things. Behind her, the ship loomed, gleaming and indifferent. The horn sounded again. Boarding had started. Rosie whispered, Are we still going? I looked down at my children, at their expectant faces, at the way they were already learning how quickly everyone could turn into not you. I don't know yet, I said, and for the first time that morning, I stopped moving forward. Stopping is a strange thing in a place designed to keep you moving. The line surged forward without us. Luggage disappeared onto conveyor belts. Families passed smiling, flushed with anticipation. No one noticed the woman standing still with 2 kids, and a growing sense that something had already been decided without her. Mom. Evan said quietly, "Did we do something wrong?" "No," I said immediately. "Too fast." I knelt so we were eye level. "No, this isn't about you." Rosie pressed her forehead into my shoulder. I wanted the slide. "I know," I said. "Me too." Behind us, Lila's voice sharpened. "We're going to miss our boarding window." I stood. "You booked adults-only cabins." "For part of the trip," she corrected. "It's not a big deal." I looked at my mother, waiting for her to say something helpful. She didn't. She smoothed her scarf again, like fabric could iron out reality. "Honey," she said carefully, "maybe you can talk to guest services once you're on board." "Once I'm on board, where?" I asked. "Because right now I don't have passes." Lila waved her phone. "It's all in the system. You're attached to the booking." That word, attached, hit differently than included. I felt the familiar urge to fix things rise up in me, automatic and trained. To start calculating options. To soothe everyone else's discomfort, so mine wouldn't be an inconvenience. But then my phone buzzed. A notification from my bank. $214.76 onboard beverage package. Another buzz. $89 thermal spa access. I unlocked my phone slowly, my pulse thudding in my ears. The charges stacked neatly, one after another, all pending. Why am I being charged? I asked. Lila didn't look at me. "Oh yeah, since you were the primary payer, everything routes through your card." Primary payer, not primary decision maker, not primary guest, just the wallet. "You added upgrades," I said. "They were included," she said quickly. "Kind of. With the promotion. For an adults-only deck." "Yes, but—" "You used my card," I said louder now. My aunt shifted uncomfortably. My mother sighed. "Can we not do this here?" Evan's hand found mine. He squeezed it once hard like he was grounding me. I opened the cruise app, my fingers steady in a way that surprised me. The dashboard lit up immediately. 3 cabins, 2 marked Serenity level, 1 labeled pending, guest not checked in, mine. Under details, a note caught my eye. Secondary contact, granted booking privileges. I scrolled. Lila's name. "You made yourself a secondary contact," I said. She shrugged. "Someone had to manage things. You're always busy. Busy raising my kids. Busy working. Busy assuming family meant consideration. Did you think to ask me?" I said. She tilted her head, the way she did when she wanted to sound reasonable. "Every time I ask you something, you make it complicated." I laughed once, sharp and humorless. "You changed my reservation to exclude my children. That's dramatic." "Is it?" I asked. "Because right now my kids don't have access to the ship you're boarding." The horn sounded again. Final boarding call. My mother touched my arm. "Just come on. We'll sort it out later." Later. The word families use when they don't want to fix anything. I looked down at Rosie. Her eyes were glossy, but she wasn't crying. She was watching, learning. I scrolled deeper into the app. Settings. Payment management. Restrict spending privileges. Remove sponsorship from associated cabins. My thumb hovered. I could already hear the fallout, the accusations, the rewriting of events, the way this would somehow become my fault for ruining something. But beneath that noise, something quieter spoke up. Something I'd been practicing listening to in therapy, in the small, unglamorous moments of choosing myself. "Facts are clean," my therapist had said. They don't shout. They don't negotiate. Lila, I said calmly, you told me this trip was planned for everyone. She rolled her eyes. Why are you stuck on that? Because words mean things, I said, and so do actions. I tapped remove sponsorship. The app asked me to confirm. I did. Immediately, the pending charges disappeared. A new message popped up. Associated cabins require payment method to continue access. Lila's phone buzzed. She frowned, tapping her screen. What did you just do? I removed my card, I said. Her mouth fell open. Are you serious? We're about to board. I know. You can't do that. I already did. My mother gasped softly. Karen, I'm not funding a vacation that excludes my children, I said. My voice didn't shake. That felt important. Lila stepped closer, lowering her voice. Add it back. You already paid the deposit. I paid for a family trip, I said. You changed it. People were staring now. Not many, but enough. Why do you always have to be like this? She hissed. I looked at my kids, then back at her. Like what? She didn't answer. Another notification appeared. Refund eligibility. Material change detected. I felt something loosen in my chest. I'm going to call guest services, I said. Right here. My mother's eyes flashed. You're embarrassing us. I smiled faintly. I think that already happened. I stepped away from the line, the noise of boarding fading behind me, and dialed the number. The hold music was absurdly cheerful, but for the first time that day I didn't feel rushed. The hold music sounded like something meant to calm people who didn't need calming. Steel drums, light percussion, a promise that if you just stayed on the line, everything would be pleasant again. I watched my family from a distance, Lila pacing, my mother leaning in close, whispering urgently, my aunt checking her watch. They looked like people who'd lost control of a narrative they thought was settled. Evan sat beside me on a low concrete barrier, swinging his legs. Rosie leaned against my side, her fingers twisting the hem of my shirt. Are we in trouble? She asked. No, I said. We're just choosing. She nodded like that made sense. Maybe it did. A click sounded in my ear. A human voice replaced the music. Thank you for calling guest services. This is Marisol. How can I help you today? Hi, I said. I'm the primary payer on a family booking. After the deposit was paid, a secondary contact reassigned the cabins to an adults-only level. I'm traveling with 2 minors. I didn't authorize the change. There was a pause, then the soft clatter of a keyboard. May I have your booking number? I gave it, slowly, clearly. Okay, she said. I see the original reservation, and I see a reassignment to Serenity level initiated by secondary contact. Yes. And the traveling party includes 2 children? Yes. That change should have required primary confirmation, she said. I'm sorry that happened. I closed my eyes briefly. Relief is a strange thing. It doesn't always feel like victory. Sometimes it just feels like being believed. I'd like to remove my card as sponsor for the other cabins, I said, and request a refund for the non-compliant change. That's absolutely within your rights, she said. I can submit a material change exception. Please do. Once I remove your card, the other cabins will need to add their own payment method to continue access. I understand. She worked quietly for a moment. I could hear the hum of the terminal behind her. Okay, she said. I've removed your card from the associated cabins and submitted the refund request. You'll receive a confirmation email shortly. Thank you, I said, and meant it. When I hung up, my hands were steady. That surprised me. Lila was already marching toward me. What did you tell them? She demanded. The truth, I said. You just stranded us. I withdrew my payment, I corrected. You can still go. She stared at me like I'd spoken another language. You know, I don't have that kind of limit. That sounds like a planning issue, I said gently. My mother arrived, her face flushed. Karen, come on. Just get on the ship. We'll fix this inside. No, I said. We'll fix it where the rules live. People around us pretended not to listen. Some failed. This was supposed to be special, Lila said, her voice cracking. You always do this. You make everything difficult. I thought of all the times I'd made things easier, all the times I'd paid quietly, smoothed edges, absorbed discomfort. This was supposed to include my kids, I said. You decided it didn't. She opened her mouth, then closed it. My phone buzzed. An email. Refund initiated. I didn't open it. Are we still going on vacation? Evan asked. I looked at him, at Rosie, at the massive ship behind us, gleaming and closed. Yes, I said. Just not this one. Lila laughed, sharp and incredulous. You're really going to walk away? I nodded. I already did. My mother's voice dropped, cold now. If you leave, don't expect us to fix things later. I met her gaze. I'm not asking you to. That landed harder than anything else I'd said. Behind us, the final boarding announcement echoed. The crowd surged. A crew member began closing the lane. Lila's phone rang. She answered, her voice turning sweet. Hi. Yes, we're just sorting something out. Sorting. Always sorting. I took my kids' hands. As we walked away from the terminal, Rosie looked back once. It's really big, she said. I know, I said. So are we. We reached the parking lot, the noise fading to a distant hum. The air felt different here. Less charged. More real. I loaded the kids into the car, my movements efficient, automatic. Evan buckled himself, and then Rosie, careful and deliberate. Mom, he said, when I slid into the driver's seat. I'm glad you didn't let them be mean to Rosie. I swallowed. Me too. My phone buzzed again. A text from Lila. You'll regret this. I stared at it for a moment, then set the phone face down. Regret had always been her favorite threat. She used it like a prophecy, like she owned the future. I started the engine. As we pulled away, the ship's horn sounded one last time. People cheered, a celebration we weren't part of. And for the first time, that didn't feel like loss. It felt like space. We didn't have a plan. And somehow, that felt like the first honest thing that had happened all day. Where are we going? Rosie asked as the port disappeared in the rearview mirror. Somewhere with food, I said. And air conditioning. Evan smiled faintly. That's my favorite kind of place. I followed the signs away from the waterfront until the buildings lost their polish. The road narrowed. Palm trees gave way to gas stations and faded motels advertising weekly rates in crooked neon. My phone vibrated again. Then again. I didn't look. We ended up at a diner that looked like it had been there longer than anyone remembered to update it. Red vinyl booths. A bell over the door that rang like it meant it. Inside, it smelled like coffee and something fried in the best possible way. A waitress with silver hair and kind eyes handed the kids menus and crayons without asking anything else. Sit wherever, Han. We slid into a booth by the window. Rosie immediately started coloring a sun that looked more like a starburst. Evan read the menu like it mattered. What are you getting? He asked. Pancakes, I said, because they come with syrup and no expectations. He nodded, approving. While we waited, I finally turned my phone face up. 23 unread messages, most from Lila, a few from my mother, one from my aunt, all variations on the same theme. Confusion disguised as accusation. Why would you do this? We could have talked. You embarrassed us. You ruined everything. I scrolled without opening any of them. Then one message sat apart from the rest. You okay? Mark. Mark was my boyfriend. Steady. The kind of person who showed up without needing a script. I typed back, we're fine. Long story. We'll call later. He responded almost immediately. Proud of you. Get pancakes. I smiled despite myself. The food arrived fast. The kids ate like nothing was wrong, like children do when the world is still mostly reliable. I watched them and felt something uncoil in my chest. I thought, this is still a vacation. After breakfast, we drove again, away from the port, away from the story my family would tell about what happened. We found a small public beach tucked between two condo buildings. No wristbands, no announcements, just sand and water and a handful of locals who looked like they came here often enough to know when the tide turned. Rosie kicked off her shoes and ran straight for the water, shrieking when it touched her toes. Evan followed more cautiously, rolling up his shorts like it was a calculated risk. I sat on a towel and let the sun hit my face. My phone buzzed again. This time I opened one message. From Lila. You always need to be right. Don't expect another invitation. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I typed back, that's okay, and meant it. Later that afternoon, we checked into a small motel a few miles inland. Nothing fancy. 2 beds, a bathroom that echoed. The lamp on the nightstand flickered if you touched it wrong. Rosie jumped onto one bed immediately. This one's mine. Evan claimed the other with quiet dignity. I sat between them, the weight of the day settling into my bones now that we'd stopped moving. Mom. Rosie said, did they not want us? The question landed softly and hard all at once. They wanted something, I said carefully. It just wasn't fair to us. Evan frowned. Is that why you didn't pay? Yes, I said, because fairness matters. He considered that, then nodded. Okay. That night, after the kids fell asleep, I finally listened to the voicemails. My mother's voice came first. Tight, controlled, disappointed. Karen, your father and I can't believe you'd do this. You made a scene. You hurt your sister. We raised you better. Then Lila, crying, but not the kind that asks for repair. The kind that demands restitution. You stranded us. Do you know how humiliating this is? Everyone saw. You just walked away. I deleted both. Another message arrived while I sat there. A social media notification. Lila had posted a photo. Champagne glasses clinking. A caption about unexpected changes and making the best of it. The comments were full of sympathy and heart emojis. I laughed once, quietly. Of course, she'd cured it. She always did. Mark called then. His voice came through warm and real. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. Just tired. I saw the post, he said carefully. Of course you did. She's making it look like you bailed last minute. I know. He paused. Want me to say something? No, I said. Let her version live where it lives. I'm done auditioning. He smiled into the phone. I could hear it. I'll come by tomorrow. Bring coffee. Deal. After we hung up, I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The motel air conditioner rattled like it was working too hard. I thought about how easy it would have been to board, to smooth things over, to let my kids adjust quietly. I thought about how often I'd done that before. Outside, a car passed. Somewhere, laughter drifted from another room. For the first time in years, I wasn't bracing for the next demand. I fell asleep with that thought, and it felt like relief. Morning light slipped through the motel curtains in thin, uneven lines. Rosie was already awake, sitting cross-legged on the bed, lining up crayons she'd taken from the diner like they were soldiers preparing for inspection. Evan slept on, one arm flung over his face, breathing slow and even. I watched them for a moment, letting the quiet settle. No announcements, no horns, no one telling us where to be next. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. More messages. I didn't open them yet. We showered, dressed, and ate muffins from a convenience store down the road. Rosie declared the blueberry one acceptable. Evan asked if we could stay here one more night. Maybe, I said, and meant it. While the kids watched cartoons, I finally opened the family group chat. The messages read like a courtroom transcript written by people who didn't care about evidence. You humiliated us. Why couldn't you just get on the ship? Your sister was trying to do something nice. This didn't need to go this far. Nice. Far. Words that bent easily in their mouths. I typed one message and sent it to the group. I paid for a family trip. It was changed to exclude my children. I withdrew my payment. I won't discuss this further. Then I muted the chat. The silence afterward felt deliberate. Chosen. Mark arrived late morning with coffee and paper bags that smelled like something warm and sweet. Donuts, he said. Emergency ones. Rosie cheered. Evan fist bumped him. Mark looked at me carefully. How are you holding up? I feel clear, I said, surprised to hear it out loud. We took the kids to a nearby park. Nothing special. Swings, a chipped slide, a field that had seen better days. Evan pushed Rosie on the swing, counting each arc. I sat on a bench, coffee warming my hands. Mark leaned against the railing beside me. You know, this isn't really about the cruise, right? I nodded. It never is. That afternoon, another email came in. This one from the cruise line. Additional documentation attached. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. Activity logs. Timestamps. Edits. My name listed as primary payer. Lila's as secondary contact. Notes about promotional consideration. A phrase jumped out at me. Complimentary upgrade provided in exchange for social media exposure. I read it twice, then a third time. I looked up at Mark. She didn't just forget us. He leaned closer, reading over my shoulder. She was planning content. Something settled into place. The champagne, the urgency, the way my kids had been treated, like an inconvenience instead of family. They hadn't been forgotten. They'd been edited out. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from an unfamiliar number. This is Jess from Cruise Partnerships. We've been made aware of a possible issue with a collaboration linked to your booking. Could you confirm whether you consented to promotional use of your reservation? I stared at the screen. No, I typed. I did not. A minute later. Thank you. We'll be following up. I felt a flicker of something that wasn't exactly anger. More like recognition. Mark watched my face. What is it? They used my card to fund a promotion, I said, without asking. He exhaled slowly. That's not okay. No, I said. It's not. That evening, while the kids built a fort out of motel blankets, I forwarded the logs to the email address Jess had provided. Subject line, unauthorized promotional use. I didn't add commentary. The facts spoke well enough on their own. Later, my mother called. I let it ring out. Then Lila. Straight to voicemail. You didn't have to go this far, she said, her voice sharp now, the tears gone. You're sabotaging me over a misunderstanding. I deleted it. That night, we ate pizza on the bed, grease on napkins, laughter over nothing. Rosie looked at me suddenly. Mom, are we still a family? I swallowed. Yes, I said, just not the kind that hurts each other and calls it love. She nodded like that made perfect sense. After the kids fell asleep, Mark sat beside me on the edge of the bed. You did the right thing, he said. I know, I said. And for once, I didn't need convincing. My phone buzzed one last time before I turned it off. An email subject line, refund confirmed. Underneath, another line, compliance review initiated. I closed the phone. Outside, the night was quiet, honest. I slept like someone who wasn't carrying other people's secrets anymore. The email came 2 days later, just as Rosie was trying to convince Evan that waffles counted as dinner. Subject line, compliance review outcome. I opened it slowly like the timing mattered. The message was polite, thorough, unmistakably corporate. Unauthorized promotional use confirmed. Policy violations documented. Future partnerships suspended pending investigation. I read it once. Then again. Nothing about apologies. Nothing dramatic. Just facts. And somehow that felt right. I set the phone down and helped Rosie pour syrup onto her plate. She smiled like the world was uncomplicated again. "Mom," Evan said, watching me carefully, "are you still mad?" I thought about it, about the heat I'd felt at the port, the humiliation my family had tried to hand me like a bill. "No," I said, "I'm done." That weekend, we drove inland to a small lake Mark knew about. A borrowed cabin, pine trees instead of palm trees. No itinerary. Rosie ran along the dock, pretending to be a sea captain. Evan skipped stones, counting each bounce like it was proof of something. I sat on the porch with coffee and watched the water move without needing permission. My phone buzzed. I checked it this time. A message from my mother. "Your sister lost the partnership. She's devastated. I hope you're happy." I stared at the words, then typed back. "I hope she learns." I didn't send anything else. Later, another message came through. From my aunt. I saw the paperwork. I didn't know. "I'm sorry." That one I kept. On Sunday evening, Mark built a small fire pit by the lake. The kids roasted marshmallows until they were sticky and laughing. "You know," Mark said quietly, "most people would have boarded." "I know," I said. "I almost did." He nodded. "But you didn't." "No," I said. "I didn't." The truth was, it would have been easier to go along, to smile, to let my kids absorb the lesson that love required shrinking. I watched Rosie hold her marshmallow over the flame, careful and patient. Evan handed her a napkin without being asked. They were learning something else now. A few days later, the family group chat went silent. No more accusations. No apologies either. Just quiet. At first, the absence felt strange. Then it felt like rest. On Thursday, my mother called again. I answered this time. "We never meant to hurt the kids," she said, her voice softer. "I know," I said, "but you didn't mean to protect them either." She was quiet for a long moment. "You could have handled it privately." "I tried," I said, "for years." Another pause. Then, "Are you coming for the holidays?" I thought about it, about the cost of showing up, about the invisible tab I was always expected to pick up. "Maybe," I said, "if everyone comes as themselves. No pretending." She didn't answer right away, but she didn't argue. That felt like something. That night, Evan sat beside me on the couch. "Mom." "Yeah." "I think you're brave." I laughed softly. "I think I was tired." "Still counts," he said. I smiled into his hair. Before bed, Rosie asked, "We didn't miss the trip, right?" I tucked her in, brushing hair from her face. "No, sweetheart. We just chose a different one." She yawned. "I liked this one better." Me too, I thought. Later, alone on the porch, I scrolled back to the first message Lila had sent about the cruise. "Everyone's going to love this." I deleted the thread. Somewhere, far away, a ship was cutting through water, full of people clinking glasses and posting photos. Here, the lake was still, honest, wide enough for reflection. I learned something important that week. Everyone is a word people use when they don't want to name who gets left out. And oops is what they say when they expect you to forgive it. I don't anymore. Now, when someone tells me something is planned for everyone, I ask better questions. And if the answers don't include my children, my dignity, and my consent, I don't board.